What happens when the New York Jets play the New York Jets? That is the question that we're going to find out. What happens when the Jets play a football team like themselves? Because they are 0-3. And so far, what do we know about the Jets through 3 games? Well, we know that they've played 2 teams that will most likely be in the playoffs in Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh down to the final minute. Now, one of them, you could argue they outplayed the Steelers and should have won. The other one, they had a chance to steal it and couldn't finish it, and then they lost pretty significantly at home to the Bills, who might be probably the best team in the NFL, at least in the AFC. So, there's a couple ways that you can look at the first 3 games. You can look at it and say, "Well, we were underdogs in all those games." They are a handful of plays away from being 2-1, and you're feeling way different about the season. The Bills are great. No shame in losing that game. Like, let's go on a run. That's one way you could look at it. You could also look at it and say, you are what your record is, and 7 out of the last 8 quarters, the Jets have been pretty uncompetitive. And now I think we're gonna find out. I think we're gonna find out. I have no idea what how the Jets are gonna look over the next few games. They could make a season of it, and I wouldn't be surprised. They could bottom out and be headed, like, to number 1 pick conversation, and I don't think any of us would be surprised, but I think this game is going to tell us a lot. It's pivotal. It's pivotal in that direction, man. Like, 1 and 3 is not great. 1 and 3 is not great. But if you're 1 and 3 and you feel like you could win a home game against Dallas and you feel like you could be 2 and 3, we don't need to go any further than that. But 2 and 3, it's like you're right in the mix of a bunch of AFC teams with Joe Burrow out for the year and Lamar Jackson hurt and the Ravens are what you're right in the mix of all those teams, right? 0-4, and you're like, yeah, it's just we're just better than the Titans, and that's it. You're like the second worst team in the conference if you lose to the Dolphins, probably, right? And any objective power rankings will have you in the bottom 3 to 4 teams in the NFL, if you lose. So, it's a big one, and also I think just the media noise around the team and around Glenn is really going to get pretty ugly if this team does spiral. And I made a point in my video this morning, like, this team I just disagree with the notion of like, well, what'd you expect? We were supposed to suck. Now I get it from the notion of like the Jets always suck. We're gonna stink. We have no QB yet. Like I get that, but I don't I don't like the justification of it. Well, this is part of it. Sucking is good. This guy sucked once 20 years ago, and then eventually he didn't suck. Enjoy your sucking. Like, no, I don't like that. Like, we should be able to make a season of it, man. The Colts are making a season of it. Everyone was mocking them, laughing at them for starting Daniel Jones. They played the Rams down to the wire today. They're 3-1. I think they're going to probably fizzle out and win 8 games, but they've already clinched a season. They've clinched having a season. Their fans get to have a season already done. They could lose the next 4 games. They'll still be what 3-4 or whatever. They're still having a season into November, right? I want the Jets to be able to have a season. And if you go 0-4, I don't know if you're having much of a season. And I really hope they win, man. I really hope they win, because it's gonna get ugly, and there's gonna be Glenn Presser over analyzing and all that stuff that just kinda goes away. We don't have to talk about, when the team wins games. Additionally, you don't want the team to have to be operating out of a point of desperation heading into next year, which if this season spirals, now I don't think that there's gonna be anybody fired, like, at the end of this year because I think they're gonna win a couple games and it won't end up being like some whatever 2-15 season. But, Woody Johnson doesn't one and done people, so you don't gotta worry about that. But you don't want Glenn and Muji to feel like they're already on the hot seat, like fire hot seat heading into year 2, where then they have to make a panic decision at quarterback to try and save them buy themselves some time. You want them to address the quarterback position from a position of like, you know, options and somewhat some security, right? And not a position of panic and desperation. So that's why I think winning this year matters. Like you can't just say, "Oh, whatever. We're just sim the season. We're going to win 1 game. What's 1 game, 6 games, 7 games, 8 games? You don't make the playoffs." I completely disagree, and furthermore, you wanna have some confidence heading into next year that if they get the quarterback, whichever imperfect prospect it is, because there's no Joe Burrow, there's no Andrew Luck. So whoever they get, you wanna feel confident that they can be successful, because if this team goes out there and wins 3 games with Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor, and then they take Lenora Sellers, and you're gonna be confident that they're gonna all of a sudden, like, you know what I mean? So you wanna have some confidence heading into that. You look at how, like, the Ravens, and the Chiefs both, uh, and the Bills, the 3 best teams in our conference, they all drafted their current franchise quarterback a year after they were in the playoffs, right? And then you look at a team like the Titans. I don't even know, is Cam Ward good? I have no idea, dude. It's so horrible there, I can't tell. I really can't tell. It's like Sam Darnold, Jets bad. So you don't want that, man. You wanna have some momentum, some competence. Um, you wanna have some good vibes heading into next year, and I think that can be accomplished without making the playoffs. I don't know if it could be accomplished with the by starting 0-4 and going to the Miami Dolphins. So what's that? How many minutes is that to tell you guys it's better if the Jets win games, right? But some people disagree. I don't know, man. I'm losing my mind. Uh, yeah, in this game, it's a really interesting, I actually think it will be an entertaining game because I think there will be a lot of points to 2 very bad defenses, and there's some the Dolphins honestly, the Dolphins do some things that I think they can exploit what the Jets' weaknesses have been so far defensively through 3 games. Now the Dolphins are not good, they're pretty bad. They're getting 2 points at home, so pretty much if it was a neutral field, Vegas is saying these are evenly matched teams. Um, and the Dolphins were destroyed by the Colts week 1. They didn't score any points their first 3 quarters. But then if you look at their last, 9 quarters, they've scored 56 points in their last 9 quarters. So they have an offense. They have an offense, and they do have 2 speedy receivers who are capable, and Tua, who's kind of a shell of himself and doesn't throw the ball deep anymore, but Tua can hit a pass. You know, if you have a speedy receiver who runs a 12-yard out route, Tua can hit that pass, right? He can hit an 18-yard dig. He can hit some passes. Um, he's like a mid below average quarterback. And with the Jets secondary, I think just Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, they're gonna be able to find, and now this kid Malik Washington, who was a a Jet fan draft crush coming out of that year, they just have some speedy playmaking receivers that I think whoever is not guarding Sauce, and it's not like Sauce has been complete shutdown, but Sauce is still far and away the Jets' best cover guy. The Dolphins are probably gonna have some matchups that they feel comfortable with in their wide receiver room, and that's what the Dolphins did to get back in that game against the Buffalo Bills. They just ran find Trey White, you know? They just said wherever Trey White is, I think he's what is he? I don't know what number he is. They just said, "We're gonna find Trey White, and you can't run with Jalen Waddle," and that's what they did. And I think the Dolphins might be able to do that with Brandon Stevens, with Michael Carter, with either Tony Adams or Malachi Moore, because Malachi Moore looks, he's night and day. Malachi Morris around the line of scrimmage playing in the box already looks like an NFL starting safety. If you just watch those reps, you're like, wow, that's a good like professional safety. Then you watch Malachi Moore's brief sample of coverage reps, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's like not even close. So split the difference there because Malachi Moore is better as a run defender, I already think, than Adams, but I mean, he might Adams might be slightly better as a pass defender, to be honest, right now. So either one, the Dolphins probably feel comfortable with those matchups. And Cisco is a gambler, and he hasn't taken any away yet. And then you got Kiko Mauagoa out there. So there's just a lot. The back seven of the Jets defense, I think there's some matchups the Dolphins will like. Addition to that is you have Devon A-Chain, who is going to make you pay for missing tackles and over pursuing. So the script is there for the Dolphins to go ahead and get this W. Now, from a Jets defensive perspective, like, dude, just take the ball away, man. Like they're going to make some plays, they're going to get some yards, and I get it. You have no Jermaine, you have no Quincy, so that's unfortunate. You're down a couple linebackers actually, so that's, you got some challenges there. So the Dolphins are gonna move the ball. They're not gonna like hold to under 200 passing yards most likely. A Chain's gonna have 100 scrimmage yards, but you just gotta take the ball away a couple times. Like, I watched a lot of football today because typically I don't, like, watch every single NFL game, but, today was, like, even from the morning game, I watched a lot of football today. I haven't done that in a long time where I just watched watched the whole slate, 9 to whatever the ones that just ended, and, you know, it's just the turnovers, man. It's crazy when you see it, because 'cause I'm like, the Steelers defense, when they got that win, I'm like, the Steelers defense wasn't even great, or even the Jaguars defense wasn't even great, but the Jaguars defense forced 3 turnovers. The Steelers defense to beat the Patriots 2 weeks ago, they forced 5 turnovers. They forced another one. They coulda had 2 more today, but there was, like, a close call of, Ramsey going out of bounds. Like, Carson Wentz moving the ball a lot, but when they needed to, it was like sack turnover. Those big, like, game-changing plays, and those well-coached defense, like the Bills are like that. The Bills will defense will give up a lot of yards, but they always make big plays in the red zone, big just they force turnovers, their defenses score touchdowns. That's what you gotta do, man. I'm not expecting I'm not expecting Steve Wilks to line up Michael Clemens and Kiko Malagoa and Tyler Barron and Tony Adams and pitch a shutout. Um, but just take the ball away twice. And then I feel like the defense has done a job. If the defense can take the ball away twice and hold the Dolphins to under 24, like around 24-ish points, I think they'll give the offense a chance to win. It's so hard when you don't give the Jets doesn't defense hasn't given their offense any easy possessions. So that's the big one, man. Because some of those other things, like I, I don't know if there's a strategy where the Jets can shut down both of those receivers. Like, you have to play man coverage at some point. There's limitations. Um, A Chain is going to do what he's going to do. The Bills have a good defense. He was able to, he's just a really special player. So I would say that even if you're going to miss tackles, to me, the bigger issue has been the over pursuing, where I don't know how the missed tackles are recorded, but sometimes it's like, well, no one actually touched him to miss a tackle, but like 5 guys ran by a dude, and now he's getting 40 yards. So if you could at least clean that up, where you're taking better pursuit to the ball and you're actually making contact with the defender and actually forcing him to break a tackle, well, but you got to force some turnovers. There's this stat that I really like, and it's called havoc rate. And what havoc rate is it combines the number of plays where a defense either has a sack, a tackle for loss, forces a turnover, or has a pass breakup. Like, you made a play, you did a thing defensively, right? And the Jets are second to last in havoc rate. Who is number 1 and 2 right now are actually the Steelers, the Vikings, the Rams, right? Really good defenses. That's what really good defenses are in the NFL now. Like, there's not one defense out there right now that's like the Legion of Boom or the 2015 Broncos. They're just good situationally. They're good in the red zone. They get timely sacks on third down. They're good in that yellow zone to punch teams out of field goal position, and they just take the damn ball away. You gotta force a couple turnovers, man. If Tua's gonna throw you one, he's gonna throw you one. You got to catch it. The fumble recoveries, I really think it's just like, it's the universe, man. I don't even know what to say, because the ball always just bounces to the other team. But Tua's gonna throw you one. You got to catch it, and you got to be punching at that ball. It's been a while with this team. Even Salah's teams, when the defenses were good, they still really didn't force a ton of turnovers for a defense that was as good and as talented as they were. That's that on defense. That's all I got for you, man. Force a couple turnovers, and I really think we'll have a shot defensively. But if you don't, I think it's going to be tough sledding. Now, offensively, well, we know exactly what is going to happen. We have the game plan. The game plan has been leaked because we know that the Miami Dolphins have the single highest blitz percentage of any team in the NFL. They also don't even have a high pressure rate, which tells you that their pass rush sucks right now, because they're blitzing a ton and they're still not getting home. And they run a bunch of cover 2 because they don't trust their corners. So their defense is just untalented right now. It used to be good a couple years ago. It is eroded with injuries, losing guys to free agency, guys falling off. Their defense is very untalented by the Miami Dolphins. They have a very bad secondary, and they can't get home without blitzing the passer. So the Jets have an opportunity to score some points. So that the Dolphins already have a very high blitz percentage. And the last 2 weeks, 2 teams have put on film how you beat the Jets, whether they're playing Tyrod Taylor or whether they're playing Justin Fields, is you blitz the crap out of them. Right? That's what Todd Bowles and Sean McDermott did. So why would I think the Dolphins are going to do anything different if that's already their tendency? So now from an offensive game plan, you have to find ways to beat the blitz and generate explosive plays to make them pay for blitzing. Have we seen a screen pass to Breece Hall? Have we seen this? Because around the league right now, it's pretty wild. The league right now is just a check down league. I see all these guys saying, oh, this guy's a check down merchant. Like Jalen Hurts throws check downs. Oh, Josh Allen in this game, Josh Allen and Tua in that last Thursday night game. Oh, they were just throwing check downs. Aaron Rodgers this morning. Like, oh, he's just throwing check down. I thought he had a very good game. It's like, bro, they're giving you 8 yards. Take it. Next play, they're giving you 6 yards. Take it. Why would you not do that? That's on the defense. If the defense is going to give you 6-8 yards a pop, a good quarterback and coaching staff are going to take that. So you have to find ways to generate explosive yak plays. Number 20, though he's inconsistent, and number 5 are your 2 best bets to do that. And we got to get a deep shot to Arian Smith, please. Please just one. Please just one. And we have to start breaking some tendencies offensively, I think. With Engstrand, there's 2 things that the Jets are, well, there's 3 things that the Jets are dead last or second to dead last in. Very interestingly, they are second to last in the percentage of their passes that are play action passes. Which I don't think anybody would have predicted that. Like I'm not saying, oh, if you do a bunch of play action, you're going to be way better, but I don't know. It just seems like those play action boots around the league are just free yards. People run a play action naked. The tight end who's, engaged with an end releases and peels out and gets 5 yards for free. It seems like every team, you just get free 5 yards if you want to do that. So I find that interesting that they're going to be such a run heavy team, but they don't do a lot of play action. I don't know. Maybe there's just some matchups they don't like. Whatever. I know a lot of it is if they do the read option, is that technically not play action because then it's a run. So maybe that's part of it. They're also dead last in the different types of personnel groupings that they use. Right? In terms of like the different mix of players who are out there. That one I honestly think is just the Jets don't have a lot of dudes. They don't have a lot of weapons who are like good. Like the Colts are really high in that, but it's like, dude, the Colts have like 4 awesome pass catching targets. So I can't kill Engstrand for that because there's only so many guys you want to play on the Jets offense, right? Maybe this could be a game where Jelani Woods gets a shot. Maybe. And then the other thing that I think is there's an opportunity to catch a team by surprise is the Jets have run 33 plays under center this year. They have in all 33, they have zero straight drop back passes. It is like mostly run. There's some play action. And then there's been a couple of spiking the ball plays. So they have, when they go under center, so far 33 times, 0 has the quarterback just taken a 3-5 step drop and thrown a pass. So that seems like if you come out the first play and you just want to send a cut block and do the play that Aaron Rodgers got hurt on. Remember that? We all remember that play. I could tell you, right? That little cut block and a quick drop back and a hitter to Garrett Wilson on a in breaking route for a nice 10, 12 yards to get your day going. Because if I know that stat, I'm sure the Miami defense knows that stat. So that could be a tendency breaker there. And maybe we'll see our first trick play because we haven't really seen any trickery yet from Engstrand. The fact that you guys are still talking about who we're drafting next year is insane. Well, dude, because there's a lot of ways you police the way we talked about the team, bro. Because if people say, "Hey, we want to win games now," you say, "No, you can't win games now. No one should have expected that. This is about the future." And then you zoom out for 5 seconds and talk about how this game impacts the future, and people freak out about that. You say you want to tank, and it's like, no, you can't do that. Well, I want to win games. Well, no, you can't have that. You can't expect wins. We're talking about the team, man. Who they're going to draft next year is a part of the conversation until they win a game. That's on them. If they don't want us talking about the next season, they have to make this season matter. And they can make this season start to matter by winning on Monday night. That's on them. Win a game. We're already into that part of the season where everyone's like policing what everyone's talking about. You want to win? Bad. You want to lose? Bad. You want a quarterback? Bad. You don't want a quarterback? Bad. Blah, blah, blah. Let's just get on. Let's get one in the W column, dude. Because even after the first game where they lost, but they played well, no one was talking about the draft. Are Colts fans talking about the draft, even though Daniel Jones isn't their future? No, because they're 3-1. So let's win some games. That's how you solve that. And then again, when we talk about what's happening now, and we're just factually saying what's happening now, it's not very good. People don't like that either. So what are we supposed to talk about? What are we supposed to talk about, man? The Mets? Don't get me started. We will unfortunately still find a way to lose. I don't know. I mean, they're definitely the worst team we've played so far. So I'm going to be sick if Dart turns out to be good. I mean, maybe he will be good, but what did he throw for like 100 yards? I mean, good for him. I don't have a hot take on Dart either way, but we'll see. Let's not get too crazy on the Jets. Should have drafted Jackson Dart just yet. We could be 2-1, but I don't want to do it to myself anymore. No more framing this in a positive light. Well, if they win, that's what I'm saying, Greg. If they win the next 2 games, then you're looking at the last 2 games different. Then you're looking at Pittsburgh and the Bucs differently. You're like, actually, you know what? This is a decent team. We just lost a couple of close games, right? If you lose the next couple games, you're like, you know what? We're just trash. So we'll get some answers. No more moral victories. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody really believes in moral victories. I think moral victories is a straw man. No one comes out after a loss and says that was a great moral victory. It's just some law, like not all losses are this exact same. You know, I know they count the same, but like the Pittsburgh loss and the Buffalo loss, in terms of how you're feeling about the team moving forward is not the exact same. Aaron Glenn is a beast and will put all these negative nerds on strings. Well, Dan Orlovsky apparently has seen the future and he agrees with you. Yeah, Dan Orlovsky is weird tweeting about the Jets. I have no idea. Why do I feel like the Jets have no idea what they're doing? I don't know, man. This is why we need to win. Then, Joe, you will feel like maybe they do know what they're doing. All 3 of those QBs were considered imperfect prospects, have to be able to draft and develop. Yeah. Yeah, you're 100% correct. Yeah, I mean, any criticisms that are levied against any quarterback and that's gonna go in the first round this year probably applied to Mahomes and Lamar and Allen. Well, they're not Allen and Lamar and Mahomes. It's like, yeah, but neither were those guys when they were drafted, and then they were. So I don't know. That's why I'm saying is to me is more important. If I don't break the rule of talking about the talking into the future past our 0-3 showdown against the Miami Dolphins for all the marbles. If I break that if I may break that rule here, yeah, that's why I'm saying it. I am more invested in how this team is progressing, how it's looking, how the offensive line is coming together, how some of their draft picks develop, how the coaching staff looks. I'm more invested in that than the player that they pick. Because if they suck horrifically, I don't like they could take my favorite guy and it's like I'm not confident he's gonna be good. And then we're gonna cut him and then 3 years later he's gonna go whatever. So the most important thing is that we start to look competent, in my opinion. We start to look competent. And we could do that by beating the Dolphins. When the content creator is thinking you guys do everything, bro, dude, you gotta talk to someone else about that, man. Because I've been very measured this year. I'm not going on after games screaming and yelling. Like, I just come on here, I talk in this exact same tone. And I say, hey, man, here's what happened in the game. I'm not cursing. I'm not forehead veins. I'm not telling anyone to be fired. I'm not putting on viral clips of rants on Twitter. I just talk about the game, dude. So if that ain't your speed, I don't know what to tell you, man. See, we always get to that point in the season where it's like the fans. If John in section 308 didn't do this, we would have been a contender. Yeah, no, bro. It's Woody Johnson. Blame the billionaire. Blame the billionaire owner, bro. Yeah, no, it's Matt O'Leary is why we suck for 15 years. What's up, man? Adirondack Fly Guy. Let the record show that my record prediction before every season since I've been doing this has been higher than how the Jets have finished. So I'm not very good at being negative, even if that were my aim. Outside of 3 to 4 players, the Jets have practice squad players on every level of defense. Well, with the Jermaine Johnson and Quincy Williams injuries, it's definitely there's bumped up some guys. Those are spots that they couldn't afford injuries. Now, it's not saying you want anyone to get hurt, but it's like boundary corner is like the one spot where they have a top 75 pick waiting there to play. And of course, they're perfectly fine and healthy there. But edge right away, that gets tested. So that's unfortunate. But like I said, I don't think I'm expecting Steve Wilkes' unit to go out there and pitch a shutout versus the Dolphins. But can you keep them to around 23 points and get a takeaway or two? Like right now, if you're telling me the Jets take the ball away from the Dolphins 2 times, I'm feeling pretty confident they win the game. Right? If they take the ball away from the Dolphins 0 times, I probably think they lose. Because maybe they turn it over once. Like the Jets haven't been turnover machines on offense. And I think the Jets offense will be able to move and put up some points against this Dolphins defense. Dolphins defense is really bad. The Dolphins defense has probably been worse than the Jets defense this year. And with the Justin Field Jets offense, we've seen one game where it was amazing and one game where it was terrible. So if they can meet in the middle and have a solid game and score whatever 24 points, defense take the ball away a couple times, then they can win. This is our Super Bowl. I really want the Jets to win this game, man. I really want them to win. I do. Because then you kind of have a shot to, get a little season going here, man. Percentage that we just win 3 in a row and are 500. Who are the next 3 games? It's Dolphins, Cowboys. Who's after that? Is it Denver? Dolphins, Cowboys, Broncos. So I say like you're saying the Jets probably have like a little like around like a little bit less than a 50% chance to win each of these games. They'll probably be slight underdogs in each, like a field goal-ish underdog in each. So you need to do that formula of whatever 40% is a 40% odds hitting 3 times in a row. Mathematically, that would probably produce like a single-digit percentage result. But even if they go two out of the next 3 and they're 2 and 4, it's not great, but you're still hanging around, right? If you're 0 and 6, obviously you're done. If you're 1 and 5, you're done. If you're 2 and 4, you're on the brink and you're not good, but you're still hanging around. Yeah, coaching over specific players. That's what I'm saying, man. I think it was a reasonable goal to end this season feeling optimistic about the coaching staff moving forward. That's really about it. And if Fields could turn into something, that would be like a bonus. That's just my personal outlook on this season. Did you see the GoFundMe for the Fire Glenn plane banner? Is that really a thing? Come on. People are donating money to this? I know Miami has one, but that's 3 years in. We're doing this after 3 games. The thing is, I'll say about that, like, I'm not going to police how you fan, but it's counterproductive to like the team. It actively hurts the team. Now, if it gets to the point where it's like Brian Callahan in Tennessee and like it's over, okay, I get it. All right. If a guy's on the way out and they post a thing and it's like kind of funny, okay, fine, whatever. They're millionaires, like they'll be fine. But 3 games in, it's counterproductive to the team because the owner is so sensitive to outside noise. That's why you could see it vicariously onto the coach. You can see Aaron Glenn is so impacted by outside noise because that's how ownership is. I mean, maybe that's how he is. I don't know, but that's how they all are. That's all that you notice how all the Jets coaches speak the same, and people will be like, well, he said a thing Robert Saleh said. It's like, yeah, because they've had the same PR guy since Gase, dude. They all tell them to say those things. You really think it's a coincidence the last 2 people you've heard give a metaphor about instant coffee have been head coaches for the New York Jets after a loss? You think this is a coincidence? Like, come on, let's fire up some neurons up here, guys. That's how they're coached to speak. They like them to speak in metaphors and not absolutes. They're coached to not be critical of individual players at the podium. Like that's why when people pick apart like the press conference and stuff, it's like, dude, it's the same press conference. You're not going to get anything from it. All you're doing is like raising your blood pressure and getting upset. Like if the Jets lose, do not watch the press conference unless you want to find out who's injured or whatever. But let's be honest, people go in there like, sadomasochistically, like they're like, oh yeah, the loss was bad enough, but I know that the coach is going to tell me something that's going to make me even more angry. Like, don't do that to yourselves. Yeah, press conferences don't matter, man. I mean, maybe they do, but they're not. They're a very small piece of what matters. We're giving up 30 plus points. You think? I hope not. Gotta take the ball away, man. Let's force some turnovers, and then we won't. Definitely need to win for the Glenn culture and for our fan base. Yeah, we got people jumping off ledges. We got to rein them back in. How would you rank our tight end room through the first 3 games? Not a ton of great tight end production around the league this year, but we still seem to finish bottom 5. Yeah, tight ends have kind of fallen off a little bit. It's the 2 young guys. It's like Warren and Bowers and then McBride. Those are like 3. But a lot of the good ones, there was that class of really good ones that all got old together, and Kelsey and Kittle and Andrews and um how would I rank our tight end room? I mean, Mason Taylor is still like an unknown. I don't know how to rank Mason Taylor. Rucker has, I mean, it's not his fault that he's asked to be playing as many snaps as he is. I think Rucker has looked like an NFL player. Has he looked awesome or like a tight end too? I don't know wherever you want to quantify it, but Rucker, it's like, oh, okay, that's like a normal backup kind of tight end looking kind of dude, right? When he plays. Where previously he would play and it's like, oh my gosh, he's really bad. So that's good. But I would like to see Mason Taylor get more involved, like some more, give him some shots up the seam, um, get him isolated in the slot. He's not the best yards after catch guy, but he has great hands and he's a pretty good route runner. So let's get him some more opportunities. But obviously, the tight end room is not just hasn't really been featured, right? They're throwing a lot to Garrett Wilson and the running backs. The Jets, Garrett Wilson has a very high target share, and the Jets are top quarter in the league and how often they target their backs. So it's like Garrett Wilson, check down, which isn't the craziest strategy given the way the team is constructed and with you have mobile quarterbacks. But let's throw a little Mason Taylor in there for sure. I mean, to my knowledge, every time he's gotten a chance, it's not like he's dropped any passes or anything. So let's get him some more chances. Do you think Jets fans overrate Sauce Gardner? No, because a lot of some Jet fans think he's trash, so it all kind of comes out in the wash. Now, I'll say this about Sauce. I I can't get any more caveats because I have a smart YouTube audience. I don't know how smart my Twitter following is, but I bring that upon myself because sometimes I tweet stupid stuff. But you guys will get what I'm saying because Sauce is fodder for WFAN, like dumb level takes. Like whenever the Jets start struggling, he's the guy people go right to, especially now that he's gotten $30 million. Where Joe Beningo is gonna just be like, he can't cause a turnover. Why is he so skinny? He's dating Ice the Spices. What even is that? You think Bill Parcells' star defensive back will be dating Ice the Spices? This broad her behind was Jimungo, and then she got on the Ozempic, and now it's small and then big again. Big, small, big, like Rex Ryan, who should have been the coach. Are you kidding me? Should have been the coach, bro. He always says that. It was horrible, bro. Steve Wilkes. I'd rather have John Wilkes Booth calling plays. All right. So Sauce always is a magnet for stuff like that. Okay. So sometimes when people have legit criticisms of Sauce, people get thrown in that bucket. It's like, oh, he's a 2-time All-Pro. You can't say anything bad. My thing with Sauce is to be a $30 million defensive back, I don't like you have to be. Do you force turnovers? No. Okay, that's all right. Whatever. Some corners have really great seasons and only have 2 picks. Are you competitive in the run game? Most games, no. All right. Are you locked down money in coverage? First 2 years, yes. Last year, first 3 games of this year, no. So, and his coverage was still good last year. Like he was 12th in a lot of metrics. But if he's going to be justified making 30 million, and again, it's just the nature of the position. Like Garrett Wilson is probably ranks lower at wide receiver than Sauce does at corner, but I still think a wide receiver 1 is more valuable. The impact he can have on the game. You can dictate his impact in the game. You can throw it to him. A team can just not throw towards Sauce and pick on Stevens and Michael Carter. And then if they run it at you and you can't tackle, and if they throw it towards you, and it's more likely that you commit a penalty than get an interception. Like, I'm again, it sounds like I'm saying Sauce is bad. I'm not. I'm just saying like this. I don't know if there's how many defensive backs in the NFL are in the current NFL are worth 30 million, like just on impact. You watch a game, like you watch a guy like Max Crosby. Like maybe Max Crosby ranks the same as edge where Sauce ranks at corner. I don't know, like number 6 or whatever. But you see the impact, and it's like, holy crap! Like this guy, this guy is everywhere. He's clearly. So I don't know. That's the question. Now, so I guess the TLDR is if he is playing coverage like he was his first 2 seasons, where he is like number one as a cover guy, then yeah, because and they're going to move him with number one receivers, then yeah, that's just such a good skill set that even if he doesn't have interceptions and even if he doesn't tackle very well and is a little bit more penalized than you like, you can still live with that. But if he's not, but if he's going to be the 12th, 14th best cover corner, I don't think that justifies him being paid 30 million a year. I think the way I worded that is perfectly fair. I think if someone interpreted that as hate, they got to clean out the earwax in their ear. I think that's just where it's at with Sauce. And Wilson is a volume receiver, a stat patter. Well, dude, it's not his like okay, but the team is losing a lot, so now he's getting passes that are like stat padding, but that's not how can he control that? You know, all number one receivers are volume receivers. And actually, I would disagree with that. This year, he hasn't been because what a volume receiver indicates is that he is producing a lot because he's heavily targeted, but he's not efficient. It's like a volume scorer in basketball. Oh, you just have a bunch of shot attempts, so you score, but you're not efficient. That hasn't been the case with Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson has caught 71% of his passes this year. So his catch percentage and his yards per target are really good this year. Last year he was not very efficient. But this year Garrett's good. Like Garrett, is he? I don't know, man. Is he an all pro? No, but I don't think anyone thinks he is. Like he's a number one receiver. Like he'd be the best receiver on the Bills. He'd be the best receiver on the Chiefs. He'd be the best receiver on the Ravens. He'd be the best receiver on the Chargers. I mean, how many other? He'd be the best receiver on the Broncos. He'd be the best receiver on the Colts. You know. Fans expect Sauce to be like 2009 Revis or his ass. Yeah, like no one's Revis. Like it's like saying a defensive end isn't Lawrence Taylor. Like, okay. No one is. Sauce isn't even Sauce is better than Cromartie. That's too much. That's valuing interceptions way too much. Sauce is better than Cromartie. We've seen Garrett's ability to make elite level plays. I'm not saying he's elite, but he has elements to his game that most don't. He's more than a stat patter. Yeah, he's definitely more than a stat patter. He's not an X factor as an offensive weapon. I don't really know what you mean, to be honest. Like that's X factor is a very subjective term, so I'm not sure what you mean. But if you think Garrett Wilson is not as good as I do, I can live with that. It's not that big of a deal. That's not where my mind goes of like problems with this team right now. Is Garrett Wilson. Because trust me, if Garrett Wilson misses a game, you will see him as an X factor if you have to watch this offense without him. I promise you that. This offense has to change philosophy to become more high scoring because defense can't stop anyone so far. Yeah, well, the thing is we only have a 2-game sample of this iteration of the offense with Fields, so we'll see, like, what philosophies do you mean? I don't know, it seemed like that first game was over so fast, it's just and that is gonna be tough. They're definitely not a team no team is built to be coming down, obviously, multiple scores, but the Jets in particular. Garrett needs to be in the slot. He's been in the slot quite a bit so far this year. Actually, I wanna look into that, like, what's his slot percentage this year? That's a good question. Yeah, Neighbors, it looks like he tore his ACL, which is brutal. Um, I don't really hate the Giants. Like, I don't want them to win just because I don't want them to be like the better team in the stadium. But I don't have like a like there's certain if I'm watching the Bills or the Patriots or the Dolphins, like it's an active hate watch. With the Giants, I'm like, I hope you lose, but I don't really hate them because the Jets and Giants have both been bad for so long now. Odell Beckham Jr. What? What year is it? Jets should have gotten a wide receiver 2 in the offseason. Well, they didn't. So let's see if the kid they drafted could be one. Right? There's only one way to find out. Let's give him a shot. Dude, I mean, guys, Odell Beckham. I mean, come on. When did he even last? He's 32. I honestly thought he would be older than that. Yeah, he last played for the Dolphins. He had 9 catches for 55 yards last year for the Dolphins. Now he's out of the league. I mean, I think he literally makes no difference if you sign him, like 0 difference. If Garrett misses a game, it's over more than ever. Like, yeah, hopefully he doesn't. How'd you become a Jets fan in Buffalo? I am not from Buffalo originally. I'm originally from Long Island. It'd be great if we go on a winning streak if Fields can play elite for more games. Yeah, I think if Justin Fields can again play, warning, talk about the future of the Jets. If Justin Fields can play at a level um, that the Jets don't have to be operating at a point of desperation at the quarterback spot next year, that would be great. And he more than cleared that bar in week 1. He obviously fell well short of that in week 2. And now we get a bigger sample size of him in the Angstrom offense in week 3. And as we always know, we will know from the first drive. We'll really know from the first play. The first play the first play we're gonna know. First play, if they head off to Brees Hall and he rips one off for 18, we're gonna win. Or at least it's gonna be, a good day for the offense. So far, the Jets only have one good offensive weapon in Garrett Wilson. Yeah, I mean, Brees Hall is definitely very talented. He's inconsistent. Obviously, Mason Taylor has potential, but hasn't really gotten much of a shot yet. So, yeah, I would probably agree with that summary as of yet. Would Odell Beckham draw coverage off Garrett Wilson? No. If you took off Josh Reynolds and put in Odell Beckham Jr., the defensive coordinator would not change a single thing about their defense, I don't think, to be honest. And I know it's hard because the name, your instinct is like Odell Beckham Jr. is way better than Josh Reynolds, but it's like in the year of our Lord 2025, he's really like, why is he not on an NFL team? There's a lot of need for wide receivers around the league. Again, I'm not saying that the Jets wide receiver room is good. Odell Beckham Jr. does nothing besides maybe complain if he doesn't get enough targets, because that would probably be a thing. Everyone's freaking out about Olu, but I don't think he's been as bad as some of the stats suggest. Yeah, well, when you're facing that much of a when you have that much high of a time to throw, it's going to hurt your offensive line pressure numbers. And when teams are overloading blitzing on the left side, it's going to hurt your numbers. Now, that being said, watching Olu's individual reps, like Membu has definitely been better than him. But Membu is having a really strong start to his rookie year. So with Olu, a popular comp to him coming out of college was Charles Cross in Seattle, who was like more of a finesse pass blocking left tackle, not super mean, not super nasty, but a smooth, athlete. And Charles Cross, his first season, he was like below average. His second season, he was like kind of mid. And people are like, I don't know about this guy as a top 10 pick. Then his third season, he was like arguably the best pass protecting left tackle in the league and like a top 5 left tackle. And this season, he's right back there. Like with all the top guys, if you look at any metrics, especially in pass protection, he's been money. And I think that's probably Olu's trajectory. And that's just how drafting young left tackles go. Now, maybe he doesn't turn into Charles Cross. I don't have a crystal ball, but he's played like a dozen games at left tackle. And that's just the trade-off you make when you go tackle over weapon. Like a wide receiver a weapon is going to come in and produce more than a tackle. That's always how it's going to go. So the immediate reaction, and look, if you are like, hey man, I'd rather have Brock Bowers than Olu Fashanu, that's fine. I'm not saying that's a crime, but let's forget about who the other teams took for a minute, because if he turns into Charles Cross, we won't care, because Charles Cross is going to hold down the left side in Seattle for a decade. And Seahawks fans won't care about whoever else was on the board at the time. I think Garrett Wilson was on the board. I think it was that draft. I think he went like number 8. Now, the first year when Charles Cross was looking mid and Garrett Wilson won Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm sure Seahawks fans are like, see, we should have got Garrett Wilson. But now it's like you have a franchise left tackle that's just as valuable as Garrett Wilson. So with when you draft a tackle who's 21 on draft night, you're gonna have to give it a hot second. Now, obviously, if he looks like Evan Neal and it's like year 2, it's like, oh my gosh, we effed up. But that's not the case with Olu. It's not. He looks like I don't know. He's been like a middle of the pack tackle so far in year 2, which is kind of normal for his 12th start as a first round pick. It kind of is. That's just how that position goes. I would parlay Hall for a second and third round pick. Well, let's just see if they beat the Dolphins, because we don't really know how they're going to be handling the trade deadline yet. What is your earliest memory as a Jet fan? Early 2000s? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when I was old enough to at least kind of understand like really what was going on, probably Herman Edwards and Testaverde. Talent is irrelevant. Too many unforced errors to win games. Talent is definitely part of it. Talent. I would say talent is relevant. Is relevant. What's the game happen? Is there a game happening right now? Was it the Cowboys? Oh, the Packers are unreal this year. The Browns somehow beat them. The Browns have a very good defense, though. But yeah, the Packers seem like they could win the NFC this year, I think, for sure. They have a very, very well-rounded team. Yeah, I agree with that. Mason Taylor should get some chances. Yeah, Olu is not a spot where I'm worrying. The thing with the Jets is when you look at like somebody yesterday was told me, and he wasn't trying to be like negative towards the players. He was like, "Man, I kind of wish we had JSN instead of Will McDonald and Olu over Bowers." And I'm like, I don't think you're crazy, especially because the JSN over Will, because Will is older and like JSN is amazing. But whatever. But my response to that is like, I get that. That's fine. But I think with the Jets, they've done so poorly recently at drafting and developing mid-round picks, and they've been very bad in free agency. But the one thing we've kind of that Joe Douglas did decent was if you gave him a top 15 pick, he typically wouldn't throw it in the trash. And because we've had GMs before who couldn't even do that. Right? So you look at guys like Garrett, Sauce, AVT before he got hurt, Olu, Jermaine, Will McDonald, Quinnen Williams, even though he was in McCagnon, but still Quinnen Williams was drafted by the Jets. It's like all first round picks and mostly high first round picks. So we kind of have this mentality like, man, when we get like those first round picks that we have, like they have to be all pro, like Hall of Fame players, or it was a bad pick because we don't have the luxury for it just to be like a good player, which I get. But if you look around the league, it's just not really like that. Like the Lions can take Jack Campbell and he's like the best run defending linebacker in the NFL. That's his calling card. If the Jets took a first round pick on that, it would be like, oh, great. Like someone would share his PFF run grade is a 92, but we'd be 1-4. And someone would say, oh, great, but you got a great run defending linebacker. You should have taken this guy. But in Detroit, nobody rehashes that because he's there. He's playing a very important role. The team is winning. They drafted an all-pro receiver in the fourth round, Amon-Ra St. Brown. They drafted an all-pro safety in the third round. So it all just comes out in the wash, and the totality of their draft classes is really good. But with the Jets, they don't do Amon-Ra St. Browns in the fourth round. So I don't know, like if Olu Fashanu can be like an average starting left tackle, like that's not a bad outcome for an 11th overall pick. I'm sorry, it's not. I know people don't want to hear that, but it's just not. It's something that costs you $25 million a year to replace on the open market. Look at Dan Moore. The Titans had to pay Dan Moore. They didn't have to, but they paid Dan Moore $20 million a year. He's a bad left tackle. They knew it when they signed him. Like this guy is like the 20th, 21st left tackle in the NFL, but we can't have no left tackle. So we got to pay him $20 million a year, right? They're desperate. Will McDonald, again, he's not a good run defender. So if someone says they wanted JSN, that's fine. Like you'd have Garrett Wilson and another receiver who's just as good. That'd be great. But I also will say, put him on the Lions, put him on the Bills, put him on a team that's winning games, and he would have 16 sacks and 72 pressures and 3 forced fumbles. And his run grade for PFF would be 42.7, and nobody would give a shit because he'd be closing out games. That's just kind of my take on the matter. Base level competence shouldn't take time. Yeah, I agree with that, but I think it's too early to say that this season we're not going to see any baseline level competence. Now, if they go out and get something horrific happens on Monday night, I've been pretty just chill going through the season so far, but if I don't know, it'll be the first quarter will be over. First quarter of the season will be over for the most part to Miami, so we'll see. But they could salvage the season and look competent. Like that is still on the table. So we will see. I agree with your point. I just don't. I think it's too soon to say that they haven't shown us that they're not going to show us competence this year. If we're destined to take a QB in the draft, at what point do we say Q and Sauce don't fit our timeline and we should get premium draft capital? I don't think that's what you do. Then they might trade some players. We could talk about that as the trade deadline gets closer, probably guys on expiring deals. But Quinnen, to me, Quinnen has been awesome. Quinnen has lived up to his contract so far this year. Quinnen's been awesome. It's just when you're a losing team, nobody wants to hear that your defensive tackle played well, but he's been really good. He was the best player on the field against on Pittsburgh and the Tampa Bay game. He was arguably the best player on the field on both teams. Like Quinnen versus the run against the Buccaneers. Now, granted, it was backup lineman, but that's what you would expect from an all pro to completely dominate. He drew 4 holding penalties. 4. So Quinnen's been money, and Quinnen is 27, and defensive tackles can play until they're 32, 33 at a high level. So Quinnen could be here for 5 more years and be playing good. Look at Cam Hayward. So Quinnen, you don't look to move, and Sauce, you don't look to move. And first of all, these guys, when you extend a guy and then immediately trade them, it's devastating to your cap. The way these contracts are written, there's a reason that usually doesn't happen, unless teams know it's going to happen and it's like a a franchise tag and trade, and they kind of know beforehand. But I don't think you should trade Sauce either. Now, again, I made the point, like, I don't know, it's not even necessarily my point about that is Sauce a $30 million defensive back? It's how many defensive backs are even worth $30 million in the way the modern NFL is played, where the run game is back. The quarterback run game is in more than ever. Everyone has a 4-yard A dot where they're checking the ball down all around the yard to backs and tight ends. This isn't where you drop back and pass and there's 2 wide receivers and only one of those 2 is going to run a serious, and only those 2 guys are going to run a serious route. So you're taking away half the field as a corner. That's not how the NFL is anymore. So my problem isn't with Sauce. My problem is it's just an observation. Like, this is how the league is. I think you'd want to have a balanced secondary where you have no weak links, than like a shutdown corner, but then like some other areas where you're deficient on defense. But no, I don't think they trade Sauce either. Like, I don't think those are guys you trade. Because you would hope that a player that you drafted would be as good as one of those guys. Right? Bills are not that great. They played teams with a total of 1 win. Well, the thing about stats like that is like, well, yeah, all those teams have 4 losses because they played the Bills, right? The Bills are going to be probably in the AFC Championship. I don't know how it'll go from there, but they're like division round guaranteed. So I don't know, man. They're pretty good. They look pretty good to me. People like this 0-6 team has played teams that are combined. Well, yeah, they all got a free win off of you. 6 of those wins are because they got to play you, man. Remember that last year? I forgot which team it was. I saw like a tweet. And I'm like, God, do you not? This goes both ways. But yeah, the Bills, actually, it is insane. The Bills, if you look at their upcoming like 5 games, it's insane. They're going to be like 8-0. Their schedule is definitely front loaded with some easy teams, but it's not like the Colts. Like, we knew the Bills were going to be winning the division before the year started. So they kind of look how we expected, I would guess. See, Sauce isn't good. He gets burnt every other play. That's just not true. He doesn't get burnt every other play. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, man. And with Olu and Will, that's just how I see it. Like we just, I get it. Like top 15 pick, you want a great all around player, but a lot of other teams, because if they have a franchise quarterback and an established coaching staff, and they've been able to be efficient in free agency and hit on mid round picks, and it's like, oh, you have this first round pick who's like, okay, a solid left tackle, not great. You have a pass rusher who we all know, if he got to play in some more balanced scripts, could have 14, 15 sacks. He had 10 sacks last year. He had 2 sacks week one. He had 4 sacks in like 90 snaps as a rookie. We know he could have 14 sacks and 75 prior. Like we know that. He could do that. And if he was on a team, and hopefully that team becomes the Jets soon, where there's more leads, like he could be a closer. That's a pretty valuable thing to have. And he was the 15th pick in what was considered a weak draft class. It's not like he was number 1 overall. Like if Will McDonald is extended by the Jets, he's gonna rank pretty high in their like all-time sacks. He'll be top 10 in franchise history if he's extended to a 4-year deal. He will be. Quinnen too. Sauce overrated, but it's hard to say because some people say that he's complete trash. So that's why even like when people say Brees is overrated. No, he's not, because half the people say he's trash. We should trade him for like a 6th round pick. So I don't know. I would say Sauce has a wide spectrum of opinions on him. I actually think Sauce is underrated by the average NFL fan base, because the average NFL fan base says Sauce is trash. He's a DPI merchant. He's a bum. Like, he's not a bum. You think Tyler Barron is better? Who than Michael Clemens? No, he's not. We've known that for a while. The thing is, here's the wager. Here is why. Like after the first game where Clemens had that penalty, and everyone's like, cut him right now. I wouldn't be mad if they did it. Truthfully, I think you'd like to go back to the offseason, cut him, and that $4 million, which isn't a ton, but you could probably spend that on almost anything better. Like you could just put that towards a Jadeveon Clowney, whatever, who made $7 million, who's not great, but still would be, a fine third edge. Okay, I'd rather we did that. But since they didn't do that, and you have Clemens, here is Aaron Glenn's wager. Aaron Glenn has the internet, and he goes on there, and he sees that Michael Clemens is good for, on average so far in his career, he is good for 2 dumb, bonehead, no excuse, why'd you do it, penalties per season, right? He's good for 2. And he already had 1. So now Aaron Glenn is tasked with this question, and it's not a straight up answer. It's not a straight up easy answer. Okay. If you want Clemens gone, this is Aaron Glenn's wager. He says, okay, over the next, whatever it is, 15 games, I know Clemens is going to do it one more time. Because the face mask was actually a bad call. But now he's like Draymond Green, where refs are looking for it. The face mask was a bad call. But he's going to do one more. One more personal foul, unnecessary roughness, pass interference. He's going to do one more throughout somewhere in this next 15 games. Now, Aaron Glenn is like, with that being built into it, him doing one more, is Braden McGregor or Tyler Barron, even though I think they're going to do 0 of those, instead of 1 over the next 15 games, are they better than Clemens? Probably not. That's just that's the reality of what is, man. I wish it were a different story. I wish I could tell you something else. Probably not, or probably like the same. I mean, we'll see what Barron Clemens is better than McGregor. McGregor is I don't even know. I don't know how you compare the two because it's like just different shades of very bad. But dude, Clemens at least every now and then has a rep where it's like, okay, you're an NFL player. Dude, McGregor is worse. McGregor is worse. McGregor is one of the most brutal because sometimes it's you can't even see like during broadcasts for the all 22 nerds, man. Braden McGregor is one of the most brutal watches on tape of any player I've ever watched, to be honest. And maybe he can get better, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. We're giving up 31 points per game on defense. Are we? Does that include the pick 6 that the Bucks got? Take that off there. Then it's like what, 28? Come on now. This team can still go 10-7. Mathematically, that is true. If McDonald could play linebacker, but they're not going to put him at off-ball linebacker. I mean, maybe he could drop situationally, but they're not going to like change positions, right? Super chat from T. Rivera. Thanks, man. From what you've seen so far, can you give how many wins we'll be getting this season? Also, do you think there's going to be any valued trading either AVT or Hall? So AVT, I believe, is a free agent after this year, and you can't trade him while he's hurt. So AVT is not tradable. Hall, maybe. Hall, I think a team would give up a hit pick for him if it got down to it. The Chiefs are desperate for a running back. The Cowboys are desperate for a running back. If one of those teams are in the mix, I don't think you're getting much, to be honest. But if the team decides that they're not going to re-sign him, then sure, get what you can get. Maybe a 5th round pick, like on a conditional 5th, something like that, because that team is essentially renting him for trying to make a playoff push. But AVT is a free agent because it was his 5th-year option. So, I mean, I not to say that this matters more than his health, but you kind of are glad that the Jets didn't extend AVT because that would be pretty brutal if they gave him a pricey extension. So I'm glad they went into the year with an AVT on a prove-it deal. I think that was kind of smart. So AVT known now if some team decides to give him a big contract, I think that could factor into our comp pick formula. But he can't be traded. Breece Hall could be. Like, that's the name if you're telling me someone goes. Quincy, with Quincy, and this is when they re-signed Sherwood, and I hope Sherwood will end up playing better. I think he will. Sherwood was solid last year. He was solid. Was he great? Maybe not, but he was a solid player last year. He was better than he's shown so far through 3 games. And part of that was with Jeff Ulbrich as the head coach, and it was kind of a mess on defense. So it's not like he was a complete Saleh merchant because Saleh wasn't the coach for most of last year. But there was part of me that when they extended him, and now Quincy is hurt, so maybe it's, maybe the age is a factor. But there was a part of me that said, I might want to bet on Quincy Williams playing very well after the age of 30 than Jamie and Sherwood playing like a top 5 linebacker ever. Right? Because Quincy I've seen play like a top 5 linebacker. Quincy in 2023 was the best linebacker in the NFL, not named Fred Warner. And I'm like, I just might bet on him being a DeMario Davis kind of dude who's like balling when he's 32, 33 than Sherwood, because they're probably not going to pay 2. But the Jets just bet on the younger player, and I can't really fault them for that. It's just not an old man's game. So we'll see how it works out. Maybe they do keep both. I don't know. It's probably unlikely that you pay 2 linebackers high money. Maybe they do. But yeah, man. Thanks for the super chat, T. Rivera. Oh, how many wins? How many wins we're getting this season? So my prediction at the beginning of the year was 7 wins, and part of that was I thought we were gonna beat Pittsburgh and then lose these next 2, and then beat Miami. So I thought we would be 2-2 to start the year. So I guess I'll now say 6 wins because they lost to Pittsburgh. So I think how many games are left? 14. So I think they'll finish 6-8 down the stretch. Which isn't I don't know. It's not that horrible, I guess. You can trade them while they're hurt. You think a guy's trading for AVT with a torn Achilles? No, I mean legally you can, but I just think pragmatically, I doubt it. Are we better than the Patriots? Well, we play them, so I guess we'll find out. Now, obviously, they've obviously had a better start to their season than we have, but we will play them twice, so we'll find out. Yeah, Quincy's out for at least 4 games. He got it's brutal, like a 320-pound guy just landed right on his chest. No one would check. Oh yeah, I saw what you're saying. Like you're saying, I agree with you. Like yes, it's possible, but it's not really realistic. Like for example, that corner we got from Tennessee is injured right now, but he'll be playing in like 2 weeks. So it's different. I actually do think the Jets are going to win. I typically don't like to do a lot of pre-game predictions because it's like if I'm predicting the Jets to win 7 games, most of them would me be saying the Jets are going to lose, and nobody wants to hear that. But 48 hours before a game, I actually do think the Jets are going to win this game. They're going to win, and they're going to force a couple turnovers, and their offense will play well against the bad defense. I'm watching a video. Which is why I guess Salah. I assume most of you guys listen to this podcast, but I guess if anybody watches it, it's just something like zone out with my mouth open for like 10 seconds. I just watched a video of Liam Cohen and Robert Saleh chirping to each other after the game. Okay, it's kind of funny. Good for Liam Cohen showing a little backbone there. I think I'm taking Salah though in that if they had to go in the octagon, I think I would take Salah. But all right, you won the game. Talk your trash. I still think it was a horrific trade to trade up for Travis Hunter. I don't care. Trading additional first and second round pick to get Travis Hunter when he was like the 3rd best receiver in the draft class is crazy. It's crazy. But he can play corner 10 snaps a game. Okay, that's what we talking about. But they are winning games, so good for them. Still think it was a crazy trade, especially when you factor in the opportunity cost that they likely had offers to move down as well and come away with a player just as good and not give up all those picks. But you couldn't say that around draft time. You were a casual. I like T-Mac and Egbuka, I think, are better receivers than Hunter. The Cowboys, they get a safety. The Cowboys have 2 points. I think right now it's time to look for some changes on. And another thing about Quincy too is like he's a dog. Like, dude, Quinn and the Williams brothers, man, they this year, like those guys, you want some guys who are not part of the problem on defense, like those 2 dudes. Quincy is a dog. Quincy's the kind of guy that people say they're around like you sign a guy for your culture and you extend this guy to send a message to the team. I think 80% of the time that's BS. Quincy Williams is the type of guy where I think that is true. CJ Mosley was the type of guy where I think that was true. Like, was he overpaid? Yeah, of course. Mike McCagnon was insane. But CJ Mosley still had a very tremendous value that is more that could be quantified by like stats. I think you're kinda seeing it. Like, don't you miss him a little bit? I don't know. I think this defense misses him a little bit. The Dolphins looked a lot better against the Bills and the Jets. Yeah, but the NFL is weird, so you can't really that math doesn't always work. You know what I mean? Like one this team beat this team by 10 points, but then they lost to this team by 21 who also beat that team. So it's, we'll see. We'll see. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. You're looking at the Saints putting up a good fight against the Bills, but the Jets, that doesn't mean that the Saints are going to beat the Jets. We'll see. I really hope they win. Yeah, the communication. I agree. I don't think you trade Quinnen. Yeah. Igbokwe was such a the thing about him, he's such a high floor player. Um, I think that it got a rap as a bad draft class, but you're looking at some of these rookies, I'm like, this is a pretty good draft class. I'm glad the Jets didn't do anything stupid. Whether you were Team Warren or Team Membu, congrats, you were correct because they're both two of the best rookies. I think Membu has been as good as any tackle. Warren might be the best tight end in the NFL right now. Warren is an absolute beast right now. I thought he'd be good. I didn't think he would be that good right away. It's like another Bowers. Rookie season. He might make an all-pro team. But they didn't do anything weird. They didn't take like he was picked right before them, but like Ashton Genty, who's I think is really good. The Raiders are a mess and he's really talented, but can you imagine like a running back? Come on. A running back taking a running back as a non-playoff team in the top 10 is just insane. It's insane. You can't do it. It's not 2004. Well, the Lions. Well, yeah, okay. They're the Lions. You get to do that once you've made the playoffs. You can't do that starting you just can't. And Gibbs was already a proficient receiver coming out of college. Genty's just to hand it off to me 30 times a game. Like you can't take that in the top 10. I'm sorry. And I think he's very good, but I'm glad the Jets didn't do anything weird. They didn't take Jalen Walker. They took a tackle. He looks pretty damn good. Membu has been. I think Membu has even been better than his analytics. Like Membu versus Reddick was hilarious. Besides that 1 4th down run play, but the pass rush reps Reddick versus Membu, Reddick did nothing. Reddick couldn't even move him at all. Like the bull rush attempts were hilarious. But I'll leave it there. Appreciate you guys hanging out. If you wanted to thumbs up on your way out, that'd be cool. Hopefully the Jets win.